bonus for the Rams, but you got to be a little enthusiastic after being there.
Bro, that game atmosphere was ridiculous. The energy, the electricity. That place was rocking. Anyone was there, and a lot of the Super Buck fans were there too. The Buck.
Tampa Tones. We are joined by lead goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron Show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little cleared. But we're joined by Pat
It looks like
Donovan.
Stunna's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.
It does look like we got a little...
No, my camera's broke.
Howdy, hey, how the hell is everybody? Saturday morning, all around the globe, is on the East Coast for near noon Central Time, about 10:45 live here on the Buccateers. Tampa Tones alongside the great J-Lo. Already got a great crew in here. Our guy Richard on the West Coast. Happy Saturday, Richard. I know you're happy about our little bit of a later start time. J-Lo, how the hell are you doing, brother? Welcome in to another Saturday Showdown here in 2025. I can't believe we're already over a couple months in here on these Saturday shows.
I know, man. What it do? Tones, light the hat, bro. Happy Saturday. Man, it's a great day all over the globe, like you said, if you're a Bucs fan. Oh, and I already see JC in the comments. Oh,
JC,
boy, here we go.
He's saying acknowledge him, man. You gonna acknowledge him?
He can shut his mouth. No, he can know what's wrong and shut his mouth. Jabroni.
Damn, there you go. Well, you and JC have beef to put in, I am guessing. Richard, JC, good morning, brother. Giving a shout out to JC. Fire the damn cannons. Go Bucs, go Bucs, go Bucs. Bucs 78 in the house. What's up, Bucs 78? As I'm celebrating with my nice little coffee mug. Yeah, me and J-Lo got these rock hats, Tampa hats for free. Real Bucs talk in the house. Be sure to hit the like button. Absolutely. Our guy Pless, brother from another mother. Uh-oh, and here we go. J-Lo asked for it, and now he's going to get the wrath of JCL, and his JCL and says, link me. I'm coming for you, J-Lo. So, J-Lo, you started this, brother. I'm just warning you.
Just bring it. Come on in. Come on down. Suplex City.
Oh boy, J-Lo's feeling on top of the world. I don't know what apple juice you drank last night, buddy, but it's got you feeling right. That's for damn sure. But it was a Friday night. Gotta enjoy yourself on a Friday night. I had my first fantasy baseball draft last night, so that was interesting. Fantasy baseball is a grind for those that have never played it. Comparative to fantasy football, it's night and day difference, not the same thing. So that's why I was repping my Ohtani shirt, because I do have Ohtani as my keeper in fantasy baseball. So I get the best player. Pretty good about that. Speaking of best player, J-Lo, Bucs are doing their best to keep their best players. Obviously, in episodes the past week, gone over that. Levante David, Ben Bredesen, Chris Godwin, amongst others. A couple more announcements about Bucs retaining Bucs. Yesterday, General Manager Jason Light broke news of his own, which is kind of funny. He's done that before when the Bucs re-signed John Wolford, as the great J.C. Allen pointed out on X. Nonetheless, Jason Light broke the news, J-Lo, that Sterling Shepard was re-signing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A friend of Baker Mayfield's, Mike Evans, was ecstatic. For those that missed it, he commented on social media, all pumped up to have Sterling Shepard back himself. J-Lo, you could do a lot worse as wide receiver number 4. I know a lot of people are upset. Oh, you had a bad game at drops. He had a bad penalty here and there. You got to remember, he was coming off barely playing football for over the past 12 calendar months. He signed on with the Bucs a little later. He was pretty much contemplating retirement, and then he was hurt to start the season. He really stepped up a couple key times when the Bucs needed him most, when Godwin and Evans were on the shelf. The offense was a full steam ahead whirlwind. but you can't hate what Sterling Shepard helped bring to the table when the Bucs needed him most, J-Lo. And may I add in, Baker Mayfield is really good friends with him, college teammates. Mike Evans and him have high levels of respect for each other. So Sterling Shepard's presence goes far beyond production. It goes based on who he is as a person and what he brings to the locker room as well. And I think the fact of the matter is, if Jason Light himself is breaking the news, I think Jason Light is pretty damn happy to have him back. What say you?
First of all, shout out to Jason Light, the best general manager in the NFL today, in my opinion.
Except to that one guy. Remember your buddy who joined a couple of weeks ago was saying how he was the worst in football?
Oh, yeah. I wonder where he's at. You know, he's welcome to come on here and throw some more comments if he likes. But for the most part, Sterling Shepard, I kind of joked with you last night or later yesterday about, but I was just kidding. At the end of the day, he's a locker room guy, and the players love him. Baker and him got a great relationship. And he made some clutch plays when needed on some third down conversions, which you always would want to keep the offense rolling. And I'm pretty sure Grizzard's pretty happy to have him, back on the team as well.
Grizz!
Oh, yeah. I think Grizz is going to definitely open up the playbook and get him involved too. It's just good depth. You can never have enough good depth at every position, especially with somebody who has familiarity with the offense and plus the coaches. So I'm all for it. And, Jason Light has done so much wonders. And also shout out to Greeny, adjusting the contracts to make it work to pay these guys. I'm ecstatic, man. I like what we've done so far, especially Jason Light tweeting his own, his own signing, which I like, How can I love that? That to me is an open-minded, just a great person, in my opinion.
Our guys, our peeps at Second Wind Stories, make sure to also hit the like button. We appreciate that. Yo, our guy Neil in the house. Neil, what the hell it do? Happy Saturday, my friend. Make sure you tell people the drill. Hit the like button, subscribe, turn that notification bell on. We're finally over 450 subscribers on YouTube. I think once we get to 500, we'll do a little giveaway, that's for sure. Our guy Plus knows what he's talking about. He's a good wide receiver. And exactly, that's what he is at this point, a wide receiver 4 or wide receiver 5. People are acting like we're going to have him as a wide receiver 1 out there. What do people want us to do? Pay Cooper Kupp $15 million, Godwin $22 million, Evans $20.5 million? No, thank you, because then we couldn't have been able to resign other players or bring in other players as well. Richard, I'm glad you mentioned, because that's what we're getting to here shortly, but why not bring it up now, J-Lo? The Bucs do bring in former Dolphin and Colts linebacker Anthony Walker. Now, he's a familiar face in this household. Obviously, my brother's a big Colts fan. Anthony Walker Jr., that is, not just Walker. Can't forget the junior. 29 years young, from Miami Gardens, went to Northwestern, was a 2017 round 5 pick from the Colts. Played on the Colts from 2017 to 2020 before having 3 seasons with the Browns, J-Lo, from 21 to 23. Hopped, skipped, and jumped his way to Miami for 2024, and then coming to Tampa now. When you look at him, he's a guy who fills in when need. He started a ton of games in his career, specifically with the Colts. When he was on the Colts, he was hungry. He was effective. He was making plays. In 2018, he started 14 out of 15 games for Indy, and then the next 2 years, he started every single game, 32 out of 32, J-Lo. This is a guy who can make plays. He's a good depth linebacker. Don't expect him to start. Again, oh, man, we should have got Mo. We should have got this guy. He is going to be a very essential, critical backup depth piece. Again, my man Plus reading my mind. Anthony Walker is a solid. Thank you, Plus. That's key to mention. People keep forgetting. People keep acting. Oh, he's going to be a starter out there. He will not start next to Levante. Sure, he may sub in a good bit, rotate in a good bit, but I expect the Bucs linebacker room to be as followed next year, J-Lo. Obviously, Levante linebacker 1, and then I think you're going to have a rookie flip-flopping at 2 to 3, Anthony Walker and Sriracha Dennis somewhere in that float. And then don't forget, you have Deion Jones, who looked pretty good last year to end the year, J-Lo, came on late, former high-end linebacker in the National Football League. But Anthony Walker's a guy who could step in when needed. He's amassed over 100 tackles 3 times in his career. He has 5.5 career sacks. He has 2 career forced fumbles, 4 career interceptions. So a good backup linebacker. See, Mr. Magic, that's where I'm going to disagree with you. The Bucs have to get younger. This is a depth piece. Mosley would have been more money. He would have demanded more playing time. And we really don't need Levante and Mosley out there in a position where we're trying to get younger. I like the idea of drafting a guy, bringing in Anthony Walker, rotating that linebacker room, Servachier, Dennis still at a young age. But J-Lo, I think Anthony Walker is surely an upgrade over KJ Britt. He's a better run stopper and he's a better pass. He's better in the pass coverage than KJ Britt as well, which isn't hard to do. Walker had a down year last year. He was injured a little bit, but when he's linebacker 3 or 4 here and healthy, J-Lo, I fully expect him to be a real nice depth linebacker for this Buccaneers team.
Couldn't agree more. I like the fact that they brought in a veteran piece, didn't cost much, cost effective, and he won't really be that dependable guy to start all the way. You know what I mean? He'll be a rotational linebacker. And you can never have enough depth. I mean, Deion Jones, 2 experienced starting linebackers that can come in case, Savasi can't stay healthy. That's been his struggle. But back to Walker. Walker's got some experience. I like it. He can fill in quickly. Instead of put in an undrafted rookie who's never started a game. CJ Mosley would be nice, but I'm totally fine with Walker.
Plus brought up a good point on Mosley, too. Not only is he older, not only would he be a little more against the cap, he's coming off a big injury, J-Lo.
Yeah, he has.
So,
and that's another risk. Do you really want to pay for that? Because obviously he's going to ask for a pretty decent payday. He's not going to take a vet minimum for that most part. I mean, he could. I just don't see him doing that. I think Walker was the safer choice because he can rotate in and out in case Levante gets tired out on those long drives. Because when you're on a long drive for a long time, you gotta get gas. You gotta maneuver him out. So you can never have enough depth with that. So, and plus,
speaking of depth, J-Lo, to piggyback off you, Mr. Magic says, do we need an edge rusher? For those, I'm sure no one's missed it by now. We did add Hassan Reddick, the former honorary All-Pro man at the edge position, multi-time Pro Bowler, made the Super Bowl once with the Eagles. J-Lo, he had a 4-year span where he was getting double-digit sacks. I do think we draft an edge rusher, maybe sign another low-end free agent there. I don't think so, but we will draft one, I believe, J-Lo. But to me, our edge room is looking up. What say you, J-Lo? I wouldn't be opposed to just waiting for the draft to go back there, because now when you look at it, you got Yaya Diaby on one side, you got Hassan Reddick on one side, you got Nelson and Braswell as the key cog backups, and you still have Jose Ramirez, and Marquise Watts as younger depth pieces. I'm totally okay with not getting a vet. I'm okay with waiting until the draft for one. What say you?
Oh, yeah, agreed. And we don't technically have to go in the first round to get one. We can always go in the second or the third, because obviously our starters are going to be Hassan Reddick and Yaya Diaby. But also, you want to build competition too. You got to go with the best, the best pick available, or best available, at any position with your pick. So, for example, the guy from Boston College, yeah, you had him, then you're fully depth. You got young, you got veterans that interact in and out. But for the most part, I think it'll be draft day when we get another edge rusher. And my best guess, I like the way Hassan Reddick came in his press conference and made me more confident.
He looked hungry. He looked motivated. Yeah. He looked ready to roll.
To where he's going to be really, able to get back to where he was those 4-year span, getting those double-digit sets, getting the pressure. That way we don't have to blitz as much. So, but back to the edge rusher, I'm down for either way. If we go get another vet, cool. If not, go draft another young one to push Braswell.
And Neil is asking what edge rushers are available in free agency still. I'll read that right now, Mr. Neil. Matt Judon is still available. Aziz Ojulari, Zadarius Smith, Charles Omanayu, Von Miller, Dennis Gardeck, Emmanuel Ogba, Preston Smith, DeMarcus Walker, Jihad Ward, Carl Lawson, Lorenzo Carter. Clellan Ferrell re-signed this morning with the Commandos, so he's no longer on the board. El Kadeem Muhammad, familiar face Pat O'Connor. Now, J-Lo, that's a guy who I wouldn't mind the Bucs bringing back for like the practice squad or something. If we signed a veteran edge, I wouldn't mind bringing Pat O'Connor back because he's a good special teams presence too. But outside of a guy like O'Connor, I'm fully waiting until the draft for edge, round 2, round 3, perhaps. Maybe if an elite one falls to you at round 1, like the Boston College kid, that's a different story. But if, oh boy, look what the cat dragged in. We got finally JC Allen is back on the Buccateers podcast. The man, the myth, the legend himself, JC back. And plus, I do agree with you. I think Jihad Campbell, if he falls, would be a hell of a pick. Or the Boston College guy, Malachi Starks as well. But JC, how the hell you doing, brother? Long time to talk.
Let me talk to you. I come on here to show my support for these two knuckleheads, and I got this one, J-Lo, who's not the J-Lo with a fat ass, but he's still got a fat ass talking shit. I don't think so. No, dummy.
Wow.
Oh man, what a comeback!
How you guys doing?
Good, brother.
Doing, JC? Good to hear from you, brother.
How's
life,
my guys? Probably busy time for you coaching in free agency, brother. What's a world of JC Allen like during the week of NFL free agency? Your phones, you probably got 3 burner phones lined up, buzzing.
Oh, jeez. First of all, how was that promo? Was it good enough for LFG?
Yeah, I think, you know what? Now that they mentioned it, you were the guy they mentioned last Sunday when they said they had an upcoming Tampa star on the rise. I think in LFG.
No, but this week has been absolutely insane. So as you guys know, I went on the Bucs cruise. If you weren't there, I know Tones is already in for next year. Start putting your nickels and dimes away. Get one of those milk jug jars. Again, you can do it with a payment plan too. You don't have to all one at a time. But y'all got to get on that cruise. It was so much fun. It was 3 days less. I mean, it was 1 day less, 3 days to 4, but it was somehow it was just as much fun. Y'all got to check it out. Hanging with the players, hanging with everybody. Bucs fans from across the country, across the world. We had people from Germany, England there. I think we had someone from Spain there too. So like, It's just an awesome time. So Monday I get back, first thing in the morning. You know, they kick you off a cruise early. And
dude, when you're done with your cruise, you are done. They get you off. You're done. That's
just the best part is them getting you off.
It is.
Heyo. So I had to drive home from.
We'll let that one go for you.
So I had to drive home from Fort Lauderdale, which to Tampa is about 4.5 hours, no traffic. But of course, you're off Monday at 8:00, so there is traffic. But so I'm like just in a panic mode, like how am I going to get home in time before the tampering period starts? Tampering starts, things start to go crazy. I've got no service. Sad but true story. Levante David, as you guys know, re-signed on Friday. I had that news before anybody else. I had no service on the cruise ship. So
isn't that the worst, man? Quick story. I was on a cruise when the great Kobe passed away, and trying to find out what the hell was going on was terrible.
Yeah, it was like literally by 2 minutes, the timestamp from when I was told and when it was reported. I had 2 minutes, but I just didn't have time to get it out, so I had no service. But anyways, so that was fun trying to get home before free agency started, and you know, phones going off, checking in on sources and stuff like that. And then into the week, you know, I'm at practice. Every time the kids get a water break, I'm checking my phone for a text message. So it's some news and stuff like that. But it's been a blast. Heck of a first week for the Bucs, I think. I mean, I know everybody wants the flashy, shiny new toy, but the way I look at it is if you counted Chris Godwin, Ben Bredeson, Levante David as outside free agents, even Anthony Nelson as a, you know, do-it-all kind of special teamer, core special teamer, 26 snaps a game he was averaging. That's a heck of a haul. And then you add on Hassan Reddick and some quality depth backup with starting experience, whether it be top of the line Pro Bowl backup, which everybody wants that aged Pro Bowler name like Mosley and all these guys, and Asante Samuel Jr., who hasn't been able to stay healthy just as much as Jamel Dean, and they've done a really good job at rounding out the depth, and now they'll add to that to the draft. I'm sure they'll continue to add anyone from here out, unless it's an unexpected release or they come available in a trade or something like that. I'd expect them to be these, close to veteran minimum, under $3 million contracts, and not guaranteed a spot on the roster. So, that's kind of what I see going forward until the draft. And then, after the draft, players come available, and then in camp, players come available right before camp, all that stuff. So they're not done adding to this team by any means, but I wouldn't expect any splashes. But I think they made the splashes they need to with their own guys. And a guy like Hassan Reddick, and don't forget, a capable punter.
Yeah, and JC, capable punter, that's key, because last year we shuffled through the deck at punter, 3 punters for the Bucs, and who would have ever projected that going into the season? You have Jake Camarda, who showed nothing but signs of brilliance his first couple of years in the league. And then last year's struggles, you got to bring in Gill. He was, well, I'm not going to knock the poor guy. And then, you bring in a rookie who really never gets going. I think it's key you're able to bring in a veteran who not only knows how to punt the football, but he's really good at putting people inside the 10 to 5 yard line. And, oh, by the way, remember that game against Buffalo in the playoffs where Denver had that nice little sprinkle fake punt pass? That was at the helm of Riley Dixon. And JC, on top of that, I want to allude to your point. A guy like Riley Dixon, a couple of the defenders were signing. Not saying they're going to be the next breakout stars, but everybody's complaining. We don't have the Mosley, the Cooper Kupp, blah, blah, blah. Remember when Shaq Barrett signed, Baker Mayfield, Ben Bredeson? These guys were cheap free agents that turned into really good players here in Tampa Bay. Not saying that's going to happen with these other guys, but Jason Light's his record proves you never know when you have a budding star that you got for the cheap.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, those are some of the things you look at. A guy like what they focused on with the free agents they brought in, the depth guys they brought in, was guys who have plenty of starting experience. You look at a guy like Anthony Walker, 83 games started in his career. You alluded to it earlier. He played in Indy, he played in Cleveland with Baker, and was in Miami last year. He was kind of injured last year, was banged up, but our, Josh Capo, our good friend, he posted some clips of him just, taking things away underneath. And I think that's one thing, you lose a little bit of what you lost with Britt, and that's why finding complete guys are so difficult in the run defense department, but you pick up something in coverage, and that's really what you needed after last season, because teams were tearing you apart. To me, that signing says that he's coming in to compete, and he's a higher end backup, which is what you want. He's going from a starting position to a backup, likely. They really like Savassi Dennis. They really, really like Savassi Dennis. Speaking, and my understanding is this shoulder injury that he had is something that he's had since college, and he's just pushed it down the line. So they don't expect it to be a reoccurring thing. They expect him to, and the shoulders knocked him out the year prior too. It's something that is going to be fixed and cleaned up, and they really like his ability. Remember, when we talked about Savassi Dennis coming out of the draft, we talked about can he cover? Can he be a coverage guy? This guy had 7.5 sacks with Elijah Cansey last year in his final year of college. Can he be a coverage guy? First day of minicamp, he comes out, gets an interception. Last year, and even remember the Colts game? He's the only one that realized what they were doing and dropped into coverage and made that touchdown-saving tackle, I think on Granson or whoever it was, the tight end, who leaked out for the pass. And last year, before he got injured, you saw, those coverage skills, and they talked about it was going to be a big part. I don't think that precludes them from adding a rookie, especially high. If a Jahad Campbell or a Jalen Walker's there, second round, you're looking at Carson Schluschlinger, maybe a Demetrius Knight Jr., or even a guy, like Chris Paul, who's a favorite, who's starting to maybe trend to the early third now. But I think would be a tremendous player. Jeffrey Bassa, any of those guys, even a Barrett Carter, who was going to be a second-round pick last year, now is in that fourth-round range, to come in and be another guy they can add to the mix too. So I thought it was a great signing. Kindle Vildor, again, 23 career starts. He can play inside and outside. He's good on special teams. He's had a few bad games that obviously people remember the bad games more than they do the good stuff. But he's another guy who can come in and he raises that floor. You know, I still think they need to add another guy. Wouldn't mind seeing Bryce Hall back. Jamel Dean, if they didn't sign one of these bigger name guys, a Davo, a Ward, a Murphy, who's not even really a scheme fit, but they didn't sign one of them. So, you hold on to Dean now. He's $14 million. Carlton Davis has got $20 million. Carlton Davis, Stonehands Davis. I think.
And no applause at his press conference.
No one clapped. No one came to his birthday party. So I think, you hold on to him because what you know is you've got a really good run corner, really good tackler, and a really good cover guy. It's not his fault. He's lined up in soft zone. He's not calling the plays. People got to remember that. And, he doesn't have hands. He's not a ball hawk. He doesn't have hands. But you can't trade what he brings for nothing or an unknown. You keep him. Maybe, and then in the draft, you look at maybe first round of Malachi Starks, Ajade Barron, Siobhan Ravel, Darian. There's tons of cornerbacks. They could dip into the fourth and still get a guy like Quincy Riley or Zy Alexander who would be good fits. But there's I think it's Noah Williams, the kid from Cal. They can reach into this draft and grab cornerbacks and maybe even double dip in cornerbacks. There's plenty of talent available through all four rounds. And then Charlie Heck, you need a swing tackle. He's got starting experience. Most of us come on the right side. He started 2 games last year for the 49ers on the left side. And he's got a hell of a mustache.
I love his mustache, man.
I would have preferred them to hold on to Justin School, but, he's Justin School now, so there's nothing you can do. But I think Charlie Heck will provide that level. I think interiors where they need to look at. I posted a couple centers. And some tweener guys who can play guard center the other day on X, who I think would be smart to look at because right now they've got Elijah Klein, and they've got guys they're high on that have been in the system of Raekwon Neal, Salas Dianzi, Luke Haggard. They're high on some of these guys. Garrett Greenfield, who they signed late last year. But I think they need a veteran interior offensive lineman, and especially someone who can play center. And I know they can move Bredesen over if something happens to Martin, but now you're relying on Elijah Klein or one of these really unproven guys to step in. So I think that's an area they need to address before the draft as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if they address it. I mean, they can get out of Bredesen's deal after year 2 if they really wanted to with minimal dead cap space. And if someone like, Tate Ratledge is sitting there in the 3rd round and, they want to bring him in and have him kind of learn behind the scenes and be able to learn different positions before maybe taking over. I wouldn't see that as something crazy. Or a Jackson Slater, in the later rounds, is kind of rising up the board now. A small school guy, offensive lineman, long hair, screams Jason Light. So my thought on those 3 outside moves they made and Dixon. The question with Dixon is, does his numbers stay where they were, or do they come down, even if it's just a little bit, from playing in Mile High versus playing in? Only half the games are there, but
it's funny you mentioned that, JC, because I actually dove in a little bit on the last episode because Pops texted in asking about that. He actually got a lot he actually pinned more people inside the 20 outside of Mile High, but he had a couple more yards better per punt in Mile High. So in Mile High, he was punting farther, but outside of Mile High, he was pinning people back more.
And he had 2 punts here last year, and I think they both went. One went from 46, one went from 48. So, it showed he can do it. It's just going to be consistent, and that's been the question at punter last year. And even trending into the later half of the 2023 season with Camarda, he started to fall off kind of there. Can they be consistent, It's funny, the Bucs went from having consistent punters for so long and shuffling through kickers, and now in one season it seems like it's the opposite. So we'll see.
And Camarda might end up being the Bills punter seemingly as they release their punter Martin, and now they have Camarda, so they might draft one. They might keep Camarda. Who knows? But he was just not it last year. I don't know what it was, but we tried to give him a couple chances. We brought up Gill. We sent him to the practice squad, and then we re-elevated Camarda, and he just never looked like he did in years past. It was the weirdest thing. But, JC, we do have a text in about you from Pop saying, cool, he joined the show. Busy guy, Bucs crew. So I got a double-ended question here for you. One Bucs cruise related. Will Golston was on that cruise, last minute replacement. What are the vibes around him, if there are any? Did you sense that he's trying to come back potentially? If so, and you also said you wanted to address the interior O line. Would former Buck free agent Sua Opeta be an option? I remember you and other people last year were saying Opeta was potentially even ahead of Bredesen at one point in training camp or mini camps. So double-edged question: any chance of an Opeta and Bucks reunion for cheap? And what are the vibes surrounding Will Golston? I know he was on the cruise. Was any murmurs going on about him?
First of all, Golston was a vibe on the cruise. I will say that. He was a vibe on the cruise. He came down and participated in Bucs trivia. It's almost like that show, The Floor, where they show the pictures back and you gotta guess them or whatever. And he went down there and he did, I think, Buccaneer teammates or something like that, and he crushed it. And then he came to Silent Disco. We hung out a little bit in Bimini at this little rum conch bar. He was a great time. It was really cool to kind of catch up with him off the field. And I asked him, I was like, "What are you thinking?" And I think if he's asked to come back, he'll come back. But I don't think he's actively searching to land on another team. I think at this point of his career, he's done a lot. He's got a lot of hobbies. He just opened a very classy lounge in, I think, West Chase area. So definitely go check that out. He's been posting on it on his Instagram. So he's got other interests after football. So I think
real quick, JC, do you think there'd be a chance where he'd take a real reserve role where he's inactive on game day, or does he just want to be part
the
of
Alonzo Mourning role, like the Heat?
Yeah,
just sitting on the bench and being a guy. I think maybe, I don't know, maybe does he go in the practice squad or something like that and just be that kind of veteran guy around the room and not ready to hang it up and wants that camaraderie and maybe something like that. Do I know if his pride would allow him to go in the practice squad after being such a pivotal part? I don't know. I mean, he does have some pride about him. He's very laid back and people get that sense, but I don't know if that's something that he'd be open to. But I think he'd be open to a return if the Bucs are open to a return. And I really think that's going to depend on how this draft shakes out and where they can add a D-line. And if it's in that 4th, 5th round, then maybe there's not a spot for him, if it's in the latter rounds and, through minicamp and OTAs, they don't like what they see. Maybe he resigns right before training camp like he did, a couple of years ago or last year. I can't remember which one it was. But I think that's the vibe I get from Will and the Bucs, and I think the door's still open potentially, but it's not something that is at a priority or the forefront of the Bucs' mind for sure right now, and maybe Will's mind too. He's gonna keep himself ready and going and in shape. The second part of your question was
Opeta.
He wasn't around the facility a lot. I didn't really see him that much. I'm sure he was there for check-ins, but it wasn't like he hung around. Like Chase Edmonds was there every day. He was still in the running back room. He was still at the games.
Any chance he returns?
I don't think so. Again, practice squad type deal. I think the door is open. I don't think it's closed, but I don't know if he'd want to take a practice squad role, something like that. So, but with Opeta, I just don't see it. Obviously they know him a little bit. They didn't really get a much chance to know him. I mean, the second day of training camp, he went down. So I don't know. And he was brought in to be for competition at the starting job, and he jumped out to an early lead, through OTAs and mini camps and stuff like that. And then Bredesen kind of took it hold. Does he want to come back to be, a guy who lost the competition? Now he's just a backup. I don't know. I don't know the guy. We didn't get a chance to talk to him that much. It certainly, I think, might be an option if all else fails. I think Aaron Stinney would be probably a closer bet to having a return, or maybe Nick Leverett. Than a guy I'm not sure if Nick Leverett is under contract this year with the Cardinals or he's a free agent. I think
Aaron Stinney resigned with the Giants, Chase. You have to cut you off, brother.
What?
No, Aaron Stinney, he resigned with the Giants.
Oh, so he resigned, yeah. So then he just resigned with the Giants. So, but any of the options I put out in on the other day in free agency. I think Sam Mustipher was one. Maybe Nick Harris, who played in Cleveland with Baker as some starts, and Tristan Colin, who's with Arizona. That's the guy I like. Started a bunch of games, started seasons. So I don't know if Opeta would be on the table. I think they'd probably want to go a different direction, but who knows?
I would like Lover if he's a potential option. It seems like he's a free agent out there. He was a surprising cut from the Patriots last year. It seemed like, he was going to be a good depth piece there, and then he ended up in Arizona. So maybe he'll be on the move back here in Tampa. They utilized him well, I feel like. He was really a key cog to the depth. And the Bucs keep getting their depth, though, lineman plunked. But JC, one depth guy who didn't get plunked, Kyle Trask. What are your thoughts on the Bucs QB room? Is it going to be as simple as Baker 1, Trask 2, and Pratt 3 for this upcoming season?
I don't think so. I think they would
wow.
I think they would like to see Trask win the role, obviously, but they really do like Pratt. Again, Jason came out and said we were going to draft him, at Kupp's spot in the 7th round instead of Devin Kupp, but Green Bay sniped him 1 pick, so they were really excited to get him in the building. I know there was some mixed bag reviews of how he was progressing last year, but enough to put a sparkle in some of the guys' eyes there, and he's going to be given the chance. I mean, everyone's job is always, up for grabs. So, if he outperforms, if Pratt outperforms Trask, then he'll be the number 2, and that's the way it is. But the Bucs have confidence in Kyle Trask. They want him to win the number 2. They feel like he's going to win the number 2. So, I mean, I wouldn't expect like a huge storyline competition between the two, but you never know. If Pratt comes out of nowhere and just starts lighting things up in off-season work and training camp, there's a chance he could leapfrog Trask.
Yeah, and it seemed like as Richard points out, if this was an off-season to leave for Trask, probably would have been this one with Raiders and Jacksonville backup open.
They didn't want him. None of them wanted him. Even Washington with ties with Brian Johnson, who was his coach in Florida. None of them wanted him. They all went separate ways. Mariota, Mullins, and
I can't believe the money Mariota got. I mean, I know he's a solid backup, but that's where I do appreciate a guy like Trask. He's cheap, and who knows if him or Pratt have to come in, they're kind of unknowns. It could maybe be better than what a Mariota
Trask has a ton of snaps with this offensive line, with these wide receivers. Like, he knows what Mike wants. He knows what Chris wants. It's not like you're bringing in a guy who's got to kind of learn all that in limited snaps behind Baker and just kind of take those mental reps and watch what Mike does on routes, because he's never thrown significant passes to him. Like, Trask has done all that. Like, he knows the small mannerisms. And I mean, he had a whole training camp almost of splitting snaps and getting reps with this offensive line and all that stuff. So, I think, Trask, he's an unknown, yes, but I think Trask would do a better job of carrying you through, 3-4 games with this core, knowing the system, understanding everything, than maybe a guy like Mariota would, who got paid $7 million more.
Yeah, and JC, one last thing about the depth of this team. We did bring back a couple big men, Brewer, Gaines. Any surprises there? Did you think we would have maybe shook up Greg Gaines' spot? I thought he ended the year well last year. I think the last 5-6 games of the season he came on strong. He's a familiar piece on this defense and familiar inside guy, especially with Vita Vea, college teammates, now NFL. And Brewer, I thought, played well in a limited role last year, at a couple sacks and whatnot. So I really think the Bucs fortified this D-line well. I think they had one to the draft. I think they drafted D-lineman. And then, like we alluded to earlier, maybe Will Golston is a veteran role type guy. But I was impressed with how the Bucs shored up their D-line room with bringing back Gaines and Brewer. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, they've got a solid D-line rotation there. They're going to be playing a lot of 2-down linemen. They're not in base set a lot, so they rotate these guys in. And, Gaines, he's a guy, said he knows the system. You know what you're getting from him, can play some teams. I think with Greg Gaines, he's not – everybody wants a flashy new toy. And he's had his struggles, but he's also made plays. Same thing with C.J. Brewer. It's depth that knows the system. And if you plan on adding a guy, who knows how early or how late to that rotation, that locker room, it brings back a core group of guys you can rely on to eat up some minutes. And I think that's the stage you're at in free agency, is like, who can eat up some minutes, and do we want someone else's trash, or do we want someone else's, there's a fine line in free agency about teams who, can't afford and don't want to, teams that can't afford but have plans to spend resources in other areas, or young guys, and like, free agency isn't always what it is. I mean, sometimes the Commanders, I think, are one of the teams who got it right last year. A lot of times you see this massive overhaul, like the Patriots just did a whole bunch of stuff. Do I think the Pats team they've raised their floor with some of the moves they made? Yeah, but do I think they're in any way or shape ready to compete for anything? No. So, sometimes bringing in a bunch of free agents that don't know your system, don't know the team, maybe not be culture fits, but the big names, it can backfire. And, you got to play it smart, and Light does that. He plays it smart, and he probably could have gone out. They have enough money to do whatever the heck they wanted. Could have brought in other pieces and bigger names, but the guys on the team that have been around here, that team knows and can play valuable roles, those are the guys they want in the building.
And JC, kind of a fun question now. Obviously, cruises are a great time. Was the entire embodiment, was every single person on there for the Bucs cruise, or was anyone surprised? Like, did they think they were just getting the normal cruise experience? And next thing you know, it's like, oh wow, we got something a little more going on here.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because Celebrity is like one of the bougier cruises, right?
Yep.
They tend to be higher priced. It's certainly not Carnival, which is like, the Chuck E. Cheese of the seas. You're going to get a lot of kids and families on there. That's not the case with Celebrity. There's not much for kids to do. So it's mostly older people. We had about 750 people on the cruise, if you count the cruise staff and the players, closer to 800 people from the Bucs. But it wasn't all from the Bucs. A lot of people were completely surprised. Some people were getting married on the cruise, and a lot of people had like no idea what was going on when the Bucs take over. It was the same way last year too, which it's pretty fun, kind of seeing, because they do like a pirate dress up night and different things. It's fun to see people's reactions when they realize, what did I just get myself into? I thought this was going to be a nice, relaxing cruise, and every 5 seconds I'm hearing Tampa Bay. So it was, it's fun, but they all had fun too. And there's some people, I ran into a couple people who were from Tampa, who were Bucs fans, who had no idea, who had just booked the cruise. They're like, this is awesome. I'm definitely going next year. I met one guy who was the Bucs team photographer for a long time, and he's like, I had no idea. I have so much Bucs gear. I would have brought all of it. It's like, but I had no idea. He's like, I ran into Brian and I ran into so-and-so and had these, Jimmy Giles and some of these conversations with some of these guys that I had relationships with. It's crazy. So no, not everybody knew.
I was gonna ask you that next. Were there any like Bucs fans there that weren't? But that's so cool, man. That's what's cool about cruising too. It's all different people from around the world getting on a ship and having one great time together, no matter what you're there for. But I just assumed it was all the Bucs. It's so cool that it's beyond that. JC, if you had to see this team making any more moves in free agency, what would you say?
Yeah, I think center is one. That's the name. Those are some names I brought up. I think safety is probably another one they could look at, with Tyke Smith moving there, not in a permanent role, but most likely in base situations. And then you move him down into nickel. I think having a guy there who's played some ball would be important. You can sell him on the fact that, hey, you're Tyke's in base, but you're coming on right when he has to slide down into the nickel, and you get someone who's versatile and guy who can play, multiple different spots on there. I think that'd be a good fit for them. I actually just wrote about that, and three names I mentioned were Rayshon Jenkins, who was released by the Seahawks. He's a little bit older. He's 31, but he's got 10 career interceptions. He's played safety, both safety spots, the slot. His numbers fell off a little bit, but still a really solid player who, again, if you're only asking to split time at safety, to give you some meaningful snaps. He's got a ton of starts. Julian Blackmon played with the Colts last year. He started all 16 games for them. He's got another one with 10 career interceptions, so he can get his hands on the ball, both safety spots in the slot. He only made $3.7 million last year, so in this far into free agency, he's not going to break the bank. So I mean, that's kind of what you gave Greg Gaines, and I don't think that'd be a bad move to add to that safety room. And then Xavier Woods. It's a new day. No, not that Xavier Woods. Calm down. He's the safety for the Panthers. He started all 17 games last year. His play kind of fell off a little bit from the year previous, where he looked like he was setting himself up for a nice payday in free agency. But he's another guy. He's got 13 career interceptions. Can play both safety spots. He can play in the slot. You made $5 million. Not going to cost as much this year. You could probably get him for that 3.5 that you paid a guy like Greg Gaines, or that you might pay for Julian Blackmon. And again, just a guy who can eat up snaps, who has experience in the NFL, a ton of career starts, and he gives you a layer of depth. I know that they like, Kayvon Merriweather, and he came on really well. But behind him, it's, if your safety room is looking at like Antoine Winfield Jr., Tyke Smith, Kayvon Merriweather, behind him, you really don't have anybody. You got Rashad Wisdom on the practice squad. You got Marcus Banks on the practice squad. Bucs were happy with their development behind the scenes, and maybe you give them a shot like you did Nolan Smith a few years ago. But they could look to the draft too. A guy that I've been really high on is Andrew Mubaku from Texas. He's playmaker, 5 interceptions last year. Billy Bowman from Oklahoma State is another one. There's a couple. Lincoln, what's his name? I can't think of his name, but there's another one. There's a few guys who I think they could pick up, but I don't know how early you go, 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round, what you're looking to get out of that. So I think that's the biggest spot, interior offensive line. And then they could use cornerback. I'd like to see Bryce Hall back. I think that'd be a good pickup, but Kendall Fuller is still out there. You can play inside, outside, give you that kind of protection. And, they still have Christian Izien on there too, who can play safety and nickel as well. So, you're looking for experienced veteran depth. Maybe you let Josh Hayes and Tyreek Funderburk develop on the practice squad and bring in a rookie or two. But I think they could use another addition there. And I think they're pretty much set everywhere else.
And they've barely had any. They barely had any departures. They've only had Schooley and Tavier Thomas, and obviously one more. They've only had 3 slight departures, though. Robert Hainsey and 4 actually. Hainsey and JTS. Oh, actually, it is adding up, but nothing big to my.
No, I think the guys you needed to bring back, you brought. Yes. All right, relax. He just got hyped about something. But
hey, I'm hyped for Cannon. There we go. Let's go.
I think the guy you bring, the guy I would want to bring back is Bryce Hall, and after that, I mean, I think everyone else is good that you brought back. Those are the guys that you needed to. I would like to see Tavier Thomas brought back. He's the only one I think that stings a little bit because he was so good on special teams. Had a block, was a big part of a muff punt. But I think they brought back who they needed to, and the additions they brought in are better than what they lost.
I agree with you there. J-Lo, you have any questions? You've been like a quiet mouse over there, brother, before the great JC has to get out of here.
No, I mean, he pretty much covered it. JC's always on top of it, man. He's crushing it. Appreciate you being on, brother, man. Looking forward to hearing more reports and more of your pod, man. Shout out to you, man.
Appreciate you.
JC Plus is calling you out, man. He's saying update your article.
Yeah. Thanks.
Hey, real quick.
I couldn't find it.
Real quick, JC, before I know you're a busy guy, before we let you go, kind of interesting former Bucs on the move too. Grant Store to Detroit, Jeremiah Ledbetter on the move. A lot of former Bucs who at one point may have looked like their careers weren't going to stick too long or finding homes around the NFL. Ledbetter barely had any action here, and he keeps getting signed.
Yeah, Khalil Davis is another one. He was with the Texans for a while, was with the 49ers. I don't know if he's signed yet, but another one of these, later round guys or undrafted guys who have found homes in the NFL. Grant Stewart, his story is absolutely amazing. I've got a chance to talk with him and meet, talk to him a few times, and it's really cool. Not really cool, but it's really cool to see what he went through to come up. So to see him continue to play, it's really cool. His story, and the Bucs draft well, and most of the guys that they draft, even if they don't make the team, have found homes and at least 3 to 4 years in the league with other teams. I don't think they've had one guy really kind of go from drafted to out of the league altogether in the same year. So they do a good job identifying guys, and if they don't make it here, it's good to see them making it out. So Tanner Hudson also re-signed. So
yeah, T-Hud, he found his home in Cincinnati over there. Kind of two fun questions, JC, before I know you're a busy guy. Are you going to any of Tampa wrestling weekend? 4 events announced Saturday through Tuesday. Main event, an NXT pay-per-view, or I'm sorry, PLE. I still think PLE sounds ridiculous. And then Raw and NXT. And yeah, that should be a fun time. You doing any of that stuff? And then are you looking forward to March Madness more, or MLB Opening Day more, right around the corner?
Well, yes. Kind of mad, sore subject about the WWE takeover. So I bought the 3-day ticket.
3 day? Do you get to pick 3 days, or like do they assign you 3?
It's assigned 3 days. So it's Saturday Night Main Event, Armageddon, and Raw is a 3-day ticket. The 4-day ticket adds in NXT the next day. So I bought the 3-day ticket, and my buddy bought the 4-day ticket. I'm like, well, I can't afford the 4-day ticket, right? I'm gonna buy the 3-day ticket. And then he tells me, and 2 hours later, he goes in and he looks, and he's like, for some reason, the 3-day ticket's more expensive than what I paid for. I said, no way. So I went and looked, and sure enough, the 4-day ticket was cheaper than the 3-day ticket. So I paid more for, and I lost an extra day. I would have saved like $40 on the total.
How the hell does that make sense?
I don't know. I would have saved $40 to $50 on the total and got the extra day. So, and you can't buy these tickets. Like, you either have to buy the 3-day or the 4-day. There's no single ticket options. Maybe they might release it in the future, but again, if I can't get NXT tickets that are usually free for less than $20 a pop with fees and everything, then I'm not even gonna bother. I'll take the L.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, at least that'll be fun 3 days though. I'm glad they get something. It'll be interesting in the Yingling Center. That's the only thing, but it kind of makes sense because you don't really know the status
of the too, so it's like intimate, and like John's gonna be there. Like they've already put like the big stars who are gonna be there out there. That okay, these are the people advertised for this. So yeah, I mean it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, they can't really use the trop, obviously. Yeah, Cena's last. Does he live in the area?
He does. He lives right down the street. I drove by his house, and I haven't seen him out yet. I've seen Dungy out. He lives down the street from me too, but I haven't seen Cena.
Wow, what are you living in Hollywood down there? What the hell?
No, bro. I don't live.
You get a coaching job, and now
I live in a nice suburb, right? But like, there's normal suburbs where I'm at. Because everything in Florida is like in Tampa is like communities. So like, I live in Carpenter's Run, then there's Oak Grove, and it's like just these like developments that go up, and they're given their names, so like they become like the little landmarks on this whatever. But in between there's monster massive mansion homes just sprinkled in small little in between all like the poor people, the middle class and poor people homes. So
okay, I thought you were living next to like Ivanka Trump out there or something.
No, like again, like 5 miles away from me was Levante David before he moved, but he's like he's in like these fancy gated community houses. Like everything's like they're just daubed on a map. There's no like upper side and like lower side. It's all like mixed in. Like you'll have a trailer park, a mansions, and a suburb like development all across the street from each other.
I know the feeling. My buddy's parents used to live next to Plies, the rapper. It was hilarious. We'd be at his house, and then we'd see like Plies go into his car, make a video in his car, and leave. And it was just funny. But I know how that works. His house is just smack dab in the middle. They're kind of cool. March Madness or opening day catching your eye, JC, and then plug yourself before you bounce out of here, brother. We got Richard saying when's the next episode of Pirate Parlay.
It's coming. We've had some technical difficulties and things going on, but it's coming. We'll be back live on Wednesday, and we'll be breaking down all the free agency moves, what's next, draft. I'll be having Dane Brugler and Trevor Sikkema on next month to break down draft and mock stuff with me, so that will be fun, something to look forward to. And of course I'll have my normal rotation of guests on, and myself doing solo shows, but it's coming back. Funky last couple weeks, but we're coming back. March Madness, I mean, I don't watch a ton of March Madness until like it gets smaller. I'm not one of the guys that have it on all day, and it's on or I'm doing something, but I'm not like sitting on the couch intently watching it until we get down to like the Final Four, the Elite Eight. Then it really piques my interest. I'll do a bracket for fun. Baseball just doesn't do it for me, man. And I used to be a huge Red Sox fan. I got a Boston Red Sox tattoo on my body, and I'm the bigger football fan now than I am a baseball fan. But it just, I don't know, something about the team. It's just been really. And baseball as a whole, I think just the product is just so far down, and it's so slow moving, and it's not captivating. And we're in this world where everything's moving so fast, and they've done their best to speed up the game. Going to a game is always better than watching it. I plan to catch the Sox down here while they're at Steinbrenner, because I just think that's such a cool experience. But I just haven't been into baseball the way I used to be. I don't know if it's they won the 3 championships and broke the curse, and or if it's just like baseball is just down as a product in itself. But they made some good moves. I obviously follow along and see how they're doing, but I'm so busy. Like, it's even hard for me to keep up with the Bruins and the Celtics. I'm more box score watching than sitting down and watching a game until the playoffs. And for the Bruins, that might not even be a possibility this year. So. March Madness, I guess, would be the choice. But again, I'm not huge into it as I used to be.
Yeah, hard to blame you. You're a busy guy too. Coach Allen, JC Allen, whatever you want to refer to yourself as, one hell of a guy for the Bucs community. Any last words, brother? I know you got your hands full. It's a beautiful day out here. I'm assuming it is over by you as well. Any last words you want to get off for the program?
Oh, yeah, it's going to be about 90. Me and Cannon, his birthday. We're going to his birthday lunch at Terragacho, Brazilian.
Happy birthday, buddy.
So we're going to eat a whole bunch of meat until we get the meat comas and sweats, and then we'll do some mini golfing. But no, I've got some articles coming out. My first mock draft should be out tomorrow. I'll be having, obviously, podcast next week, and just kind of grinding, coaching, family man, all that fun stuff. So
that'll be a lot of fun, brother. And is he the same position as he was a year ago?
He's going to be center, defensive tackle. Yeah, he's starting center right now.
Wow, beast. I was a center when I was growing. Obviously, I didn't equate to much, so he's on a better path than I am, but that was my position, so I'm always intrigued when fellow centers are out there. It's a lot harder than it looks, man. It ain't easy. You pretty much you're doing 2 jobs at once. You're not only snapping the ball, but simultaneously you're trying to block pretty much. So it's one of those positions where a lot of people overlook it, man, and I think it's an undervalued position.
Absolutely.
All right. Hey, he has a great birthday, brother, and hook him up a little bit. Maybe
WWE 2K25, the full $130-$40 pack with Roman Reigns Bloodline Edition, and he has not stopped playing that. He's playing that over everything else, Fortnite, everything. He's fully into it.
Hey,
good job, JC. You're a great dad, man. Happy birthday to your son, man.
That's a great.
He's got the 3-day WWE Takeover package too, so you got hooked up, I'd say.
Too bad you couldn't get him the 4-day.
Oh, come on.
No, that
would have saved you money. What I'm saying is you actually, you spent more on him, so that's more of a dad of the year in my books.
Do what I can.
Hey, head of the table, tribal chief, whatever you are today, my friend. Finally came back. We hope you have a beautiful day, brother. And again, happy birthday to your son, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Appreciate you. Talk to y'all later.
Thanks again. That is the great JC Allen from Bucs Game Day, SI, and Pirate Parlay, Sick Media Podcast. Great stuff there. I mean, we're pretty much at the end now, J-Lo. He pretty much just took over, and I'm cool with that.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, anytime you get a guy like JC on there, just fully knowledgeable man, great reporter, and just, a great person, man. I mean, I got to meet him twice, and he's always been a cool dude to me. So anytime you get somebody like that on the show, hey, take over, brother. I'll just listen, just like the audience, and enjoy every minute of it.
Yeah, and we're going to get to breadwinners here shortly, J-Lo. But before we do, upcoming Buccateers schedule, we will be back on Tuesday, which is actually the start of March Madness as well. It's the start of the first four, so that'll be very fun. But we'll be back on Tuesday. We're going to try and get going a little early on Tuesday so we could clear out and watch the 2 March Madness night games. We'll try and get going by 5:45 Eastern to get out of here in an appropriate time. But we will be back Tuesday, and then we'll be back next Saturday live as well. Happy St. Patrick's Day. J-Lo, before we get to our breadwinners and final word, are you up to any shenanigans for the Day of the Irish?
Sadly, I'll be at work saving lives, but you know what? It's okay. I've had many fun experiences on St. Patrick's Day. And plus, I have some Irish in me, so I'll probably bring some beads, some 4-leaf clover beads, kind of pass them out to some of my team members, because I respect my people. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me, man, my wonderful life.
It's a wonderful world. That's awesome, my friend. I mean, whatever you end up doing, working or, pleasure in your off time, you enjoy it, my friend. That's for sure. But other than that, let me make sure no NFL news is happening. If not, we'll get to breadwinner and final words. It's been a hell of an episode. Plus, Richard, JC, the rest of the peeps joining us as well. Looks like nothing left to be had out there, J-Lo. Breadwinner and final word from you, brother.
Give me Florida over Alabama. It's going to be...
Let's go Gators.
Let's go Gators, baby. Gator Nation. Stand up. But, yeah, it's going to be a close game. Give me the Gators and money line against Alabama at 3:30. Tune in, everybody. We're getting close to March Madness. SEC, tournament going on right now. But it's our time, baby. Gator Nation. Go Gators.
Yeah, let me see. So we got J-Lo taking the Gators. We went 3-1 on Tuesday, by the way. So we're off to a decent start overall. We're now 3 games over 500 on the year. I believe we're about $40 in net positive, but I'll have a more firm answer on Tuesday. My breadwinner will be, let's see. Had a couple in mind, but one of the games I didn't realize it's already almost over. I thought it was starting later for some reason, so that's on me. Now I got to pivot here. Give me Michigan State money line over Wisconsin. I think Michigan State's a force right now. That's 20 to win 14. But J-Lo, Michigan State's one of the... Wisconsin just lost to Penn State a couple days back, so I think Michigan State and Florida are 2 of the top forces to be reckoned with. Final word is I'm proud of my Bucs. Making incredible strides. Doing great things, J-Lo, and also proud of JC Allen for always joining the show and helping out spread the knowledge as well. J-Lo, give us your final blessing.
Final blessing is off season has been interesting, very fun. We got the draft coming up next month. I mean, it's going to be a fun time, people. I can't wait to see the newest Bucs, the newest prospects from the draft, to see who the Bucs bring in. More football talk to come as the days are coming. And, hit the like and subscribe button, man. Represent, man. Help us out, We love our Bucs and we love doing what we do, man. And that's all I got to say. Mic drop. Go Bucs.
Fire the damn cannons. Go Bucs. Go Bucs. Go Bucs. Everybody enjoy their St. Paddy's Day weekend. Tampa Tones, J-Lo, and JC Allen from Sports Illustrated say God bless and go Bucs. Until next time, thank you. Tuesday, 5:45 Eastern. Peace.